and knew he was something special and amazing, and I knew he was at some point going to, lead this, one of these sessions. And I'm so proud to have him, at our event. And I'd like to introduce Nate Brown.
Woo! Let's go! Hey, everybody! Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for having me out here. Huge round of applause for these event organizers. What a day this has been. I hope this has been so encouraging and refreshing for you. It certainly has been for me. This work is just so darn important, and the people that are doing it are so darn important. So I really hope that this will be encouraging for you. We're going to talk about making CX stick. And what a great venue this is. I was walking up from my hotel, and there was a sign for the bog. And so I turned right, and behind Bass Pro Shop, there's a cranberry juice sponsored bog. And so I walked around your bog and loved that. And then right past the bog is the stadium. What a place this is. We don't have these things in Nashville. We got some other things. Any woo girls out here from bachelorette parties? Woo! Oh man, that's driving me a little crazy. But I do love Nashville. So we're going to talk about making CX stick. And I feel like CX is under a little bit of fire right now. Is anybody else feeling kind of that tension where CX was almost yesterday's news a little bit? You can throw a rock and hit a headline about these things saying that customer experience is kind of washed up and that executives are moving on to the next thing, the next shiny penny that they can try out. CX is not something to try out. We know that. And we know that this is worth protecting. But it's getting hard. It's getting hard. And we have many CX programs that are being defunded, many initiatives that are going by the wayside or being excluded from strategic priority because they didn't stick. And I take that personally, to use the Michael Jordan meme. And so I want to help. I want to help with that. And so here we are. That's what we're talking about. So I want to give you some mentalities that I really hope will help you to make it stick and to be successful with your customer experience initiative. This is a battle for the mind, folks. I mean, CX work, it's psychology. At the end of the day, I mean, what is CX? The thoughts and perceptions that people have towards a brand. We're talking about feelings. We're talking about perceptions that come from impressions that people have. So we have to understand why people behave the way they behave. That's a psychological pursuit. And the better we can get at doing that, the better we're going to be able to succeed. Also, to me, CX really is a culture change. I love how Annette Franz talks about that. It's not a program. It's not some initiative. Because what does a program have at the end? A finish line. Is there a finish line to the work of understanding the thoughts and perceptions of your customers? Heck no. No. That work just evolves. It just changes over time. It gets richer. It gets better. And I was thinking about this just on Friday. It's really our ability to make sure that the organization delivers on its promises. So the more that the promise matters, the more the experience matters. I mean, this work is so dang important for that reason. If we care truly about the organizations that we serve and the people, the communities that we serve through that organization, then the experiences we are designing really, really matter. And we have to help the organization to understand that. So I bring to you this brain. This is a child's brain, since we're talking about psychology today. What do you notice about this brain? What's different about this brain than maybe another brain? It's very colorful. What else are you noticing about this brain? A lot of energy, a lot of neurons, a lot of circuits. That's it. That's what we're talking about here. The brain of a child is just unlimited potential. It's like 250,000 miles of connective tissue. Like it's unbelievable, and it's forging. The connections are coming together in ways that we could never predict, which is so wonderful and exciting. So what happens though when we become an adult? The brain changes. My brain has altered. I didn't really believe this. I thought I had the curiosity of a child still. But then my wife and my 2 daughters go to Wisconsin every summer. And the night that they leave for 2 weeks, I get out 1 plate and 1 fork. I go to Publix and get all the BOGO groceries. And that is my next 2 weeks. We are creatures of habit. What we try to do, what our brains are trying to do, is to reduce the use of energy, which is terrifying for those of us that are trying to make change happen. We're trying to break inertia. And so what we're trying to get back to is helping our organization to think more like this, where there's open-ended possibilities, new neurons to connect. Because that's how we design great experiences. When there's new possibilities, when there's a new sense of curiosity in the organization. But it's really hard to do with adults who are in a 1 plate, 1 fork type of mentality. We gotta break it. We gotta bring in some new mentalities. Who could guess, based on the research from Prime to Perform, the #1 killer to organizational innovation? What's killing us? Yeah.
Status quo.
Damn it. That's usually it takes 4 or 5 responses. Yes. Okay. Well done. Thank you. I'm sorry for using the D word. Unbelievable. It is literally the status quo. Inertia is the most deadly force inside of organizations. Widely researched. It's wild to think about that. It's our brains that does this to us. We're all subject. We're all a potential victim of the status quo and that inertia pattern that we fall into. So we got to work hard to break it. I love John Coder and his model for making change happen. And guess what John Coder says is the first stage to making change stick. And CX change is just like any other change. The first thing, establish urgency. You got to light the fire. You got to break the pavement of the supernova highways that have formed in people's brains and make them desire a new pattern of thought. That's the first thing. If you don't do that, no all hands on deck meeting, no repeated emails from an executive are going to bring about change. I'm sorry to inform you. It's just not going to happen. We have to first light the fire. So you get to be match lighters. More than anything else. I mean, that's like the first mentality I want to leave with you, is what can you do to light a match? Intrinsic motivation, which we'll talk about. Then bringing people together and doing this collaboratively, and then ultimately removing barriers. And these first 3 stages of the John Coder model are really laying out the 3 mentalities that I want to leave with you. So the first one is CX leaders as servant challengers. Now, the word challenger has been used in some of the greatest business literature of our time recently. Does anyone remember the Challenger Sale by Matt Dixon? Absolutely changed the way that we thought about sales and marketing. Absolutely. Then we had Radical Candor come out, the idea of care personally so that we can challenge directly. This idea of challenger is all over. A challenger is an employee who has the confidence, desire, and capability to push the boundaries of the status quo. This is a pavement breaker. In a world where most organizations are crippled by this, the ability to cultivate, generate a challenger is a rare superpower. Because you got to work through some stages. You got to earn that challenger. In fact, I'd love for you to think about yourself right now. Where are you in the classic depiction of the circle of psychological safety? This is the original from Timothy R. Clark. It starts with, I feel like I'm a part of a team. Like I can operate safely. I'm not about to get a knife in the back. I can be here safely. That's stage 1. Then we move to stage 2. I'm able to start asking questions. My tendrils of curiosity get to start to come out. And I'm learning. I'm gaining a sense of curiosity. The third stage is that of contributor. I am now connecting dots in new ways with my neurons that others have not. Am I in a place where I'm safe to share that? Truly. Am I going to be embraced and celebrated for the fact that I'm speaking up against the status quo? Stage 4, challenger. You can push up, down, sideways. You get to challenge inertia. And you are invited and celebrated in doing so. That's rare, folks. That's rare. People like to programize our innovation systems. Oh, put an idea in this box so that we can never look at it. Or do this SharePoint form that's making you feel stupid for putting an idea in. Like these are the things we do to ourselves. Instead of creating a culture of wow, let's do something different, folks. And bringing those ideas together in what we will call collective genius, which is not my term. And I will show you more on that in just a moment. But I love this idea of challengers and becoming challengers. But it's not enough simply to challenge. I had a business leader I was working for, and this gentleman read a book. It's a dangerous thing for an executive to do. And we had an all-hands-on-deck meeting the next day. I'm sure he read it that night. It was Lean Six Sigma for Startups. Great book. He came in and told the entire business unit to go do something. Go do a just do it idea. He even had a Lean Six Sigma term for it. What occurred next was the Wild West of stupidity and the antonym of innovation. It was bonkers, folks. I mean, people just went and did whatever annoyed them. They just went and worked on some little thing in a vacuum. And it didn't culminate into anything that helped anybody. It was wild. So it's not enough just to punch the glass around us. It's not enough just to challenge for the sake of challenging. What we want to do is also serve each other. We're CX people. We bring this mentality in as a gift. We think this way by default, and it's wonderful. And it is a gift to the organization. This idea of servant leadership. And tearing down some of the legacy things that we've been conditioned to think about what a good leader looks like. Instead of putting ourselves up on a pedestal, it's honoring others. It's bringing vision, it's bringing truth into situations instead of falling into a rut. It's inspiring others. It's choosing ethics before profit. Truly. Not just having that core value of innovation somewhere on a brick wall. Like really actually doing that. Helping others forward before your own steps forward. Lifting others up in a true, authentic way. So when we combine these two mentalities, that idea of having that confidence and the desire, you're locked in the circle of psychological safety. You can challenge, but you are also equipped to serve. Something magical happens right there, folks. And so I want that for you. And I want you to be the type of leader that can create additional servant challengers inside of your organization. Because those are individuals that are going to make something really special happen for your organization and for your customers. It's awesome to see it come to life. So I promised a little bit of an outlook on collective genius. Here's one of the outcomes that we see with servant challengers. Innovation usually emerges when diverse people collaborate to generate a wide-ranging portfolio of ideas, which they then refine and even evolve into new ideas through give and take. Give and take is hard for us. Often organizations try to discourage or minimize differences, but that only stifles the free flow of ideas and rich discussion that innovation needs. Leaders must manage this tension, and it is tension. It's a good, healthy tension. I get scared when I come into an organization and they start talking about how great their family is. We're like a family here. Really? Why? Would you fire somebody in your family? Like, would you kick them in the butt if they're not performing well with their job? I don't think so. I mean, I love that we're in Gillette Stadium. Denise Leon talks about, no. What you're looking for is a high-performing sports team. Where you're inspiring each other to something new, something great. You're achieving, you're winning. Winning on purpose. That is the type of mentality that draws people in, real talent that belong there. Not the family atmosphere necessarily. And I'm not bashing it too hard because I love peer-to-peer connection. And that's really important. But the further we take that, the more dangerous it can become. So we're trying to balance that servant-challenger piece right here. But we have this tension that creates an environment supportive enough that people are willing to share their genius, but confrontational enough that they're going to spark new ideas and new thinking. Together! That's the difference here, folks. We're not just putting a person or an idea on a pedestal and like saying, hey, this is the best idea of the month. Let's give them a $20 Amazon card. What? No. That's like one little fragment of what the idea should be. Are you creating a culture in which you're taking the pieces and putting them together? Are people able to collaborate that way? Are you building a culture where that happens? Because that's collective genius. And it happens when servant challengers are awakened. So the next mentality I'd like to leave you with is CX leaders as community builders. And this is equally as important. Did anybody see the US Surgeon General report that came out just last year, late last year in the fall? It's terrifying. I mean, I sat and cried for a while when I read this, because it's hard. And it was especially hard to see the impact on children. But like, we have a burden as CX leaders to do something here. We are community builders, and we bring people together around a meaningful purpose and serve others in a way that is difficult for many other people. So like, we have a huge opportunity to do this in a really special way. Literally in the report that the US Surgeon General wrote, in the solution column, it says cultivate meaningful communities. And what better place to start doing that than in your workplace? In your workplace, being a community builder. So what does that look like? Like, what does our community look like? I'd love to draw your attention to the dead center of this. I know there's a lot on this chart, but I love this exercise from HBR. If you feel like maybe people have become distracted and you're just not quite sure what you're fighting for anymore as a CX designer, this can really help to bring people back together on the promise. The promise that hopefully still really matters. What do we promise? And what are the core values that sum up what we stand for? You should not be all things to all people. You cannot put yourself out there in such a way that every customer out there belongs to you. That's foolishness. You are a unique organization with a unique personality, a unique set of competencies. There's a group of customers out there that belong to you, that you can serve better than anybody else, and that you can truly make them successful. You can earn loyalty through them. But the more we try to be all things to all people, the more our becoming distracted in that makes us not focus on the promise. We lose sight of it. So creating community around the promise is an amazing thing. I mean, Mark Schaefer, belonging to the brand, take a look at that resource. He predicts that the next great marketing strategy is community. And you see brands that are starting to build communities of customers in meaningful ways. This really started in the gaming industry. Players supporting players. And they love it. They love having somebody that cares as much about the digital ecosystem as they do. They're a guardian of that design, that experience. And they want to protect it. Just like the studio that authored it. And they've unlocked that connection and created these unbelievable communities within Discord. And the tech industry said, whoa. And now you have Apple users supporting other Apple users for little points. Like, they're like called an amateur Apple genius. And that's enough incentive for them to spend hours and hours supporting other Apple users for no compensation. What's going on here? If you have a meaningful promise, you're giving people a sense of identity through that by belonging to you. And they want to connect with other people out there that feel as strongly about that as they do. And you, as the organization, are facilitating that connection. And guess what happens? It's the greatest customer service channel in the world, is a community mechanism. I really believe that will be the future of customer service. Customers supporting other customers, and us in there participating and guiding and cultivating and edifying and creating meaningful connection. That's what the brand gets to do. How interesting could that be? How exciting is that for us as CX leaders? So here's some interesting research as we think about that family, community, in the different tribes that can form inside of an organization. There's a great book called Tribal Leadership. And it talks about the levels of tribes inside an organization. Tribe 1 is life sucks. Tribe 2 is my life sucks. Tribe 3 is, well, I'm okay, but everybody else here is pretty stupid. Tribe 4 is, all right, well, we're pretty good. We're pretty good. And Tribe 5 is like, we're doing something nobody else can do. We are changing communities through our brand promise. And I am so proud to be a part of this. So of course we're trying to get to Tribe 5, but if you were to hazard to guess, where do you think 60% of American enterprise companies land on this particular chart? Where? I wish, yeah. It's in between 2 and 3. 2.5 is the answer. That's where most companies are culturally. In between my life sucks and I'm great but you're not. How do we build community out of that? So we have some work to do to get people out of that selfish way of thinking and to invest in them as servant challengers. Because that's how you get to level 5. But if you feel like you're stuck as a CX leader, you've got to assess this. Where are you as a cultural tribe of people? Do you have the ability to collaborate? Do you have a promise that is clear that you're fighting for together? Have you created community inside the organization? If not, what are you doing? I mean, you're not going to be able to fix it with a piece of technology or some process innovation. It's bigger, folks. It's way bigger. So let's be honest about what CX change is. It's culture change. And let's start to treat the real symptoms here. Because then when we do good things with process and technology, our people come alive. It's awesome to see it. But we got to motivate them right. And if we think about where motivation comes from, and I tell you to assess where you stand currently, there is a way to do that through the mechanism of prime to perform. They call it TOMO, total motivation. How much of this on the right is there? Inertia, which we talked about, is clearly the #1 killer. But also you have like these economic and emotional pressures that form. How do we break those down and bring up the things on the left? A sense of play, curiosity and excitement about the work. Purpose. There's a promise here that I get to defend that matters something to me. And in that, I'm becoming the person that I want to become. That this is the type of intrinsic motivation that we should be bringing to the organization through what as a CX leader? Through what program as part of a CX ecosystem would this maybe be? Voice of customer. We get to bring life to this, folks. Voice of customer is not just about beating people down and identifying friction. It's about helping employees to understand how they have successfully guided customers to their definition of success. How they have defended the promise well. And we forget that so often. So that's another obligation that we have as a CX leader with this community builder mentality. We're going to encourage and we're going to lift up the right types of motivation in the organization. So the last mentality that I want to leave you with is that of a friction fighter. I'm not licensed to use this photo. I feel like I need to say that now that I work for a PRO. But my favorite movie by far is Guardians of the Galaxy in the Marvel Universe. And you could probably guess why based on how I think. I love a ragtag of people coming together in an unexpected community to go kick some butt and just support each other in the process. They're defending a promise. It's wonderful. So I love that idea of us getting to be friction fighters. Friction fighters is that last mentality I want to leave you with. But something bad happened to me early in my CX career. I made a grievous error. It actually happened right when I was awarded my first customer experience title. I went nuts. I thought everything had to go through me, and that my little function was the gift to the organization of CX. Absolutely the worst thing I could have done. I now call it the Moses model of CX, where I took the golden tablets of voice of customer data and I slammed them down in front of the organization and said, all of you suck. For the following 7 reasons. And you can imagine how motivating that was. It wasn't. It was awful. It was the antonym of how I should have been doing this work. But I didn't realize it until much later. And here's somebody that pushed me over the top. Is Katie in here? So Katie is doing something really special. She's bringing CX leaders together with IT leaders. If you remember on that slide, that John Coder slide, number 1 was lighting the fire. Number 2 was developing a CX change coalition. We do this work together, folks. And inside every organization, there's a power core, to use that Gene Bliss term, Chief Customer Officer 2.0. And in our organization, our power core was named Yogesh. And he's there on the right. And he's an IT leader. Control the data. They control the budget. And so I was viewing Yogesh and others as an impediment to what I need to do as a CX leader. But then at some point, I realized, no, I need to be giving this work away. I get to give it away and help others realize how their function doesn't do CX. Sometimes we get caught up in our own buzzwords and our own mentality, and it kills us. What Yogesh gets to do is defend the brand promise in a way that only he can, with the skills and data that he owns. And so Yogesh not only became the centerpiece of our CX Change Coalition as an IT leader. When he was asked, he was promoted to an executive leadership program and asked to do a project. And he selected customer journey mapping as his project. Is the proudest moment that I had as a CX leader serving in that organization, when he got it. And I was able to successfully give that work away. I remember when he was first wading into it, and he was managing the help desk. And I turned him on to the idea of NPS, Net Promoter Score. And so he's like, oh, I want to start doing that on help desk tickets. And so one day, he came into one of our CX Change Coalition meetings, and he boasted a 99.8% NPS score. I was impressed, both at the score and the calculation method. I was like, Yogesh, I'm not sure that's, and he's like, well, if they didn't fill out the survey, I just defaulted it to 100. That's brilliant. That's the type of CX innovation we need here. So it was just a fun cycle of learning together. And that curiosity and that camaraderie that was formed through that is a beautiful thing. So stop viewing people in your organization as impediments. View them as opportunities to bring them in, give the work away, stop doing CX, do the work of making the brand promise real and finding the right ways to invite people into that labor of love. Language matters, folks. Language matters. And I love creating like a code of language of how you can start to adjust the mentality of people in the organization and give the work of CX away in the right way. There's a QR code, it's just a little activity you can go through that helps you with the development of something like a code of a friction fighter. So I'd love for you to use that, download that as a little PDF form. It will help you to cultivate servant challenger mentality and to think about what the code of a friction fighter would look like for you. It helps you to invite people in. And that's all we're trying to do, is give the work away. And when we do it, when we do reduce friction, folks, it's amazing. The value. This is the simplicity index. When we are easy to do business with, when it's clear the channels of customer service that we offer, when we defend our brand promise capably and consistently, this is what happens. We outperform our competition by an incredible margin. It's wild. Go to simplicityindex.com and take a look and see how powerful that concept of being easy to do business with really is. And thank you to Brad Cleveland for introducing me to this. It's just life-changing stuff as a CX leader that's trying to prove value. It's one of the great aces up our sleeve. So leaving you with one more thing. And I mentioned it before, but like as a CX leader in the organization, what we get to be is a guide. And I love this from Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. The customer's the hero of this story. They're the reason that we started the promise in the first place. And we got together, we formed a company, we created an ecosystem around it. And so our role in this is that of a guide. So then unpack that with me. What a good guide is capable of bringing the customer to their definition of success. It's personalizing the journey to where they get the greatest value from it. That they get to achieve what they're looking for because of their relationship to you. And just the edification of that cycle. Like you're fulfilling your brand promise. You're helping your customers truly to be in a different place. Like their environment of success, which you've earned, you've understood through intimacy with that customer. So that's why all these tools that we learned about today are amazing. Because otherwise it'd be really hard to do some of this at scale. But like when we can reach into the customer journey and see all the things we can see and earn that intimacy with our customers through great tech, there is something really meaningful there. So that's exciting to me. But think about, for you, what does it mean to be a great guide? And how can you continue to focus the narrative on the customer being the hero of the story? I always think about organizations, they like to drive around. If the organization's a car going down the road, they got the dome light on, like my kids love to do. Turn that dome light off. Put your headlights on and look out at the world of your customers and understand how can you navigate them around and through the barriers that exist in front of them. But it requires you to take the focus off of yourself. That's really hard for organizations and people to do. It's a servant challenger mentality. We get to challenge our customers into a new way of thinking and serve them at the same time. So I hope that's been helpful. It absolutely starts with you. You get to be the match lighter. In John Coder language, establish a sense of urgency. So if this is exciting to you, think about what is the flame for you? What's going to help people to break the pavement of the supernova highway that's been built in their brain, the rut, the inertia that's formed around them? What could you use to break that and light the first match? Because it's contagious, folks, when it happens. And if you want some help thinking through what that could look like, I would love to help you light that match. Let me be a resource for you. This has been a great pleasure. I'm done. Thank you.
So we are the guide.